Well, here we are in the homeland of the Salish, Skelihua, Ponderay, Kalishpe, Kazanka, Kootenai peoples who taught me so much since I came here 35 years ago, 1985, to be a teacher in their alternative tribal high school, Eagle River School. We came here with no money to buy a house, but miraculously were brought to and given this place, just making payments like we would if we were renting, and signed some papers that called us owners so that we could belong to this place, not it to us, this place. And so I have some photos, and this is as close as we could get to this actual spot where we took this picture in 1985 at the same angle, maybe just behind the bush above us where we wouldn't be able to see it all. But this is as close as we can get to this spot, especially at our ages, in a hurry on a hot day. But I'm glad to be here and begin our 2020 tour of the garden from this position, showing the big picture. We might take a couple more shots on the way down, different angles, with our different other pictures of the way it looked in 1986 and 87 with our first gardens. And then we'll go down and do the tour that I used to do in person with people before this COVID epidemic and all the craziness that has happened in this year of 2020 prevented us from doing our in-person garden tours. I really miss it. But we'll do this, as I promised to some people, and we're going to carefully head back down the hill now and get started pretty soon. Okay. I think I'm on the exact spot up the hill where this picture was taken in 1987, 2 years after we got here. Here, let's move the pictures. As you can see, the trees have really grown in 33 years, and can't see the house much at all. There's another spot further up this road, up that hill, and I'll just see where I can get a better angle that's close to this angle. Okay, I think this is as close to it as we can get. The best opening through the trees that's close to the exact same spot where I took this picture. Whoops. This picture in 1987. Yeah, you can see it. Zooming in. There's the LifeGiving Farm. We call it LifeGiving Farm because this place has given us so much life. And maybe someday we'll be the source for everything we need when there's no more shopping, no more money. Yes! Okay, just a little bit of the surrounding beauty. Then I gotta go home because we're past lunchtime. Can't do that. Now we're back down the hill to one of the few spots where you can still see the farm. Well, I think I'll go up here. Old greenhouse house. Can't quite see the new greenhouse a little bit. National Bison Range. There we go. Well, coming back down the hill towards the farm, I walked past our water source, which is first those mountains which collect water from the sky that melts and comes down to the rivers and to this irrigation canal run by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and under this little road and to this section. And there's our water headed towards many farms, and our farm too. This goes about 5.5 miles down the road to many farms, and this is where we get the water from our pump, and the water for flooding that goes under this road down to here. And out the ditches that I dug many years ago and into the field. You can see the top of the house there. We'll see more of this later. Okay, now we're back at the farm and starting our tour. And I just wanted to explain what I was showing you up on the hill. So you can see in this picture all around that picture around the field, around the house, and this one that shows when we first lived here, you just see nothing but rocks and knapweed and some other weeds. And there also, and just wanted to show how all these trees, now you can pan around slowly, or all these trees around the house, and this herbal lawn that we don't have to mow much. It's got clover and yarrow, and we replaced all of the knapweed by planting that, and even these big poplar trees weren't here. And in 35 years it looks like this. So we can start with these hazelnut trees. So biodiversity is kind of the key to this place. A lot of trees, herbs, vegetables, fruit, nuts, and things that seem to grow well together and have mutual benefit to them. So a lot of companion planting is a key to the success of this place. I don't like to just say our success because I feel like we were all working together, all the nature and Barb and me and the kids and our friends who came to help us from the university, my former students, and everybody, Noah, everybody who's worked here. This has all been a cooperation with nature and the gift of water and life. So none of this would have happened without water. That's kind of the main ingredient of everything. We brought water in, we brought nutrients to the ground, manure, compost, and nitrogen fixing plants, all kinds of things, and a lot of mulch. So we'll go into the old garden where we started. I have a picture. The old garden. Oh, here's another one that shows kind of the desolate looking. Let's go over here out of that right corner. That's the way the ground looked all over here. And this rock is that big rock right there. Only it's from another angle, but that's it. And the barn is over there. And that's all that was here when we started. And I just wanted to show everybody that. We've got grapes and pears here. Grapes and pears. Okay. And we'll just go in here. The Bartlett pears, the hazelnuts again. A very nice apple that's a relative of Macintosh. And it makes very good sweet juice. Here's our garden in the second year. And the first year, okay, stop it. So the first year, this area was just horse corral with ground was packed with hard manure. Couldn't break it with a shovel. And the only time we ever had a tractor on this place is we hired a guy to break the ground for the first year. And Montana's a pretty hot and dry place in the summer. Look at this. Wherever we don't water, we don't need to mow because the grass just dies, you know, wherever you don't water. And So to get things to grow, you've got to bring the water in. And the combination of bringing water in here that first time with about a foot deep or more of manure, horse manure, created a wonderful foundation for this part of the garden. I want to show you the biggest sunflowers you've probably ever seen, sunflower heads. This was in that first year, 1986, our first garden year. That's a basketball surrounded by sunflower seed heads, and that's how big they were. They were, some of them, I guess, if I would have brought a ruler or yardstick out, they were maybe almost 2 foot in diameter, a couple of those biggest ones. Haven't seen that anywhere since, you know, sunflowers that big. But that's how we started here. And there's those hills we were walking around in this morning. There used to be a lot of open grassy area. I've got a photo of that, and now all the trees have really grown. And that's what we were going through, trying to find openings to match our photos from 35 years ago. So there's the compost area, and our first greenhouse that Noah and I built, and it's part ways underground where our first chicken yard used to be, and we didn't want to set the greenhouse right on top of all that good chicken poop soil and dug it up, you know, and moved it into the compost, that good soil, and used it also as starter dirt for beds. And so this is about 2 feet deep inside underground, you know. You step down through that door. And now we just use this old greenhouse to dry herbs in, and our new one is where we start our plants and have some crops that stay there all year. Green grapes. They didn't produce this year. They're still kind of new. They had their first year of good production last year, then they took a year off. Different crops will do that, and then they come back stronger the next year. Filbert trees, kale, carrots, more kale, and those are pole beans being watered there. There's that apple. Here's the rest of the grapes. We have Concords and red table grapes, and a different type of Concord over there. The applesauce apple tree, yellow transparent. It bears fruit every other year. Last year we had all we could use, and this year none. And it's a healthy tree. It's doing fine. There's the pole beans that Barb's been picking a lot of those. There's some, boy, it's getting kind of dark. I'm going to have to go to the other part of the garden and come back and do this in the morning when it's lit up a little better. So just past the end of this garden and past our water spigots, and that trough looking thing there is kind of an aqueduct that carries the filter cleansing thing. See, it filters out the grudge from the water system, and well, I really have to do that with 2 hands, so I'll show you another time. Just wanted you to know what that is. Oops. And we direct the water to our seedless blackberries that we're starting here, and then some of it goes into the bucket, and then I carry that around to little spots where they need some water around here. And this is Hugo Culture. I think there's enough light on this I can do this one now. I'll come back to the old garden later. And these 2 Hugo Culture beds, well, I should say that it's Mound Culture, one of the permaculture techniques, and the foundation of it is old logs of trees, usually that grow by water, and they deteriorate rapidly after they've been cut and get kind of spongy and will hold water. I'm talking about trees like cottonwood, birch, willow, quaking aspen, a few others that grow around here, and they're fast-growing trees. They take in a lot of water, and if you leave the trunks on the ground, they deteriorate rapidly. If you bury them in soil like we did in these 2 semicircle mounds, that wood becomes sponge-like and holds water under the dirt, and makes you not have to water so often. Takes about 3 years to 4 years to really have that effect and get really spongy, and it does. These are built, the first one there in 2014, and the next one 2 years later, so they're both at the spongy stage. You can see the bigger ones got more luxurious growth, and most of that growth is comfrey, and so instead of using wooden boards around these raised beds, the comfrey plant, which multiplies profusely, its roots hold the sides up. That dirt on the ground there was put there by our friend the mole. That's not this thing falling apart. I don't care if a mole wants to dig holes in dirt right next to my Hugo Culture beds. This was their home long before we got here, and that's fine. They're not doing any harm. So you see the comfrey is also propping up some of these cherry tomato plants. There's one little watermelon in there. And what I do is I come around and I pull off some of the comfrey leaves, and just, there's that little watermelon, and I just put them on the ground.